You know that moment, right? That critical instant where everything is on the line, where you need to act, but you just freeze. Well, today we're going to dig into exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how to break through it and act decisively when it matters most.
And right up front, I want to let you know that this explainer is sponsored by The Other Way Marshall Consulting. Their work is all about developing the exact principles of personal sovereignty and safety that we're going to be exploring today.
So, let's start with the big question. It's a feeling we all know, unfortunately. That moment arrives, the pressure is on, and instead of moving, our mind and body just seem to lock up. What is actually going on there? Why do we freeze, especially when we know we need to act?
The first thing you have to understand is that this freezing response, it isn't some kind of personal failure. Think of it more like a system error, a predictable glitch that happens when our minds get overloaded under pressure. We're going to call it the hesitation trap, and beating it starts with learning to recognize its warning signs.
The source material for this has a term that I think is just perfect. Hesitation leaks. It's such a great visual, right? It's like your busy, analytical mind is literally leaking out, creating this physical drag that traps you in your own head right when you need to be totally fluid and in the moment.
So let's break down these 4 signs, see if any of them sound familiar. First up is the pause button. That's when you freeze up, trying to calculate the absolute perfect move. Then you've got internal dialogue, where you're basically narrating what's happening to yourself instead of, doing something. Third is technique hunting, where your mind is frantically scrolling through its library for a specific trick. And finally, outcome anxiety, that little voice that's more worried about failure and how you'll look. These are the leaks we have to learn to plug.
Okay, so if hesitation is the problem, what's the antidote? It's a state that many of you probably know as flow. This is the goal, to move from that slow, clunky calculation to an immediate, almost effortless manifestation of action.
This is what we're aiming for. Action without thought. Now, hold on, that doesn't mean acting blindly or just being reckless. Not at all. It means your training and your principles are so deeply ingrained that your conscious mind can finally get out of the way and let your body do what it knows how to do. You're tapping into a much deeper, much faster intelligence.
And there's a quote from the source material that just hits the nail on the head. Overthinking creates a gap that an opponent will always fill. Think about that. That gap, created by your own mind, is the very opening someone else will exploit. It tells us that true speed isn't about being physically faster, it's about eliminating that delay caused by your own doubt.
This slide really breaks it down perfectly. On the left, you've got reason. It's slow, it's analytical, it's conscious. It's fantastic for planning or solving a puzzle, but under pressure, it's a liability. On the right, you have reflex. It's immediate, it's natural, it's completely integrated. That is the state we need to access in a crisis.
So how do we actually build this state of flow? Well, it really rests on 2 fundamental pillars. The first is the integration of skill. This is where your body and mind stop being 2 separate things and act as one unified unit. The second is presence in the now, which means you are 100% committed to the energy of this exact moment, not thinking about the next move or the one after that.
Okay, this is all great in theory, but how do you actually apply it when the pressure is on? When you feel that hesitation trap starting to close in, you need a way to perform a system reset. So here's a practical, 4-step guide to get your spontaneity back.
And the best part is, this is an actionable process you can practice. Step 1, a sharp, forceful exhale. This literally helps clear your mental buffer. Step 2, soften your eyes. Stop focusing on tiny details and widen your vision to see the overall pattern. Step 3, trust the foundation. You have to give yourself a direct command. My body already knows what to do. And finally, step 4, lead with mass. Move your center of gravity toward the problem. Commit your body, and your mind will have no choice but to follow.
Now, knowing these steps is one thing, but being able to execute them flawlessly under real pressure, that's another challenge entirely. And that's exactly why our sponsor, The Other Way, developed a specific training protocol to master this reset. It's called the 3-minute clearing.
So what is it? Think of it as a strategic 180-second internal reset that's designed specifically to break the biological lock of that freeze response. It teaches you how to bypass the adrenaline-fueled tunnel vision and get your composure back so you can move with intention. If you want to learn how to master this protocol, we've put a link for you down in the description.
And hey, just a quick pause here. If you're getting some value out of this breakdown, taking just a second to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe drop a comment, it really does help us keep making these. We seriously appreciate the support.
All right, this brings us to a really crucial shift in mindset. We have to move our focus away from simply doing a bunch of techniques to actually being in a state of constant readiness. It's a subtle but powerful difference.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, because it's a very smart question. Isn't all this action without thought stuff just a fancy way of saying react blindly? From the outside, panic and flow can sometimes look similar, but I promise you, internally, they're worlds apart.
And the answer is a very clear no. Absolutely not. Reacting blindly is just panic. What we're talking about here is something else entirely. It's informed spontaneity.
See, this kind of spontaneity doesn't just come from nowhere. It's not magic. It is the hard-earned result of training core principles, things like balance, leverage, and yielding, so deeply into your body that they become second nature. They guide you automatically without you ever having to think about them.
And that leads us to one last, really profound quote from the source. A mind that is full of thought is a mind that is full of holes. Just let that sink in for a second. The only way to achieve total integrity of movement is in the silence of the act itself. Stillness in your center is what creates speed at the edge.
So what's the ultimate goal in all of this? Where does this path lead? It leads to a level of skill and mastery where you, the actor, completely disappears. You're no longer performing an action. All that's left is the action itself, pure and perfect.
That's a high bar to aim for, but a worthy one. On behalf of all of us, and from our sponsors at The Other Way Marshall Consulting, thank you so much for joining us for this explainer today.